Alright, so we got the chance to bask in the magnificent light of the PS5. And today I'm going to show you the first game I've played on the PS5, of course using an equally worthy TV. I have been using the console for almost a week, and now we are ready to discuss everything. The new stuff, the things it can do, and most importantly, what and how we can play on the PS5. The first thing to notice when you power up the console is a familiar interface. The new UI looks and feels almost like the PS4 one, but it does have some traits which make it different. Moreover, the UI is so fast and fluid that transitions between menus happen instantaneously. Everything runs smoothly and quickly the way it should. Unfortunately, the start menus stay the same, confusing and tedious, the old familiar PS4 way. For some, the menu is not such a big deal, but I've always found it dull and uncomfortable. Since our expertise lies in this field, we also get the chance to play a lot and speak our minds about various games. Naturally, we can't ignore the screenshots. Luckily, the PS5 has a dedicated function for this, more specifically a screenshot menu. Once you press the share button, you have three options. You can either take a standard screenshot, which you can later edit and share on social media, or record an in-game video. The third option is quite interesting, since it allows you to save your last minutes spent in-game. Simply put, it's the perfect way to boast your godlike skills in a multiplayer game. Another cool feature is the switcher. Basically, this menu allows you to jump in, out and between your games in an instant. Let's say you are currently playing Spider-Man, but you suddenly want to jump into Astro's Playroom to show something to your friends. You no longer need to exit the main menu and select another game. You just make use of switcher, select your desired game, wait for about 5-10 seconds and presto, you're free to play. So far, we've seen that the PS5 incorporates some features previously unavailable to its predecessor, but it doesn't really come with so much as to make me call the PS5 something groundbreaking. You could say it's more like a refresh, a remastered version of the previous interface, but it really does come as a positive change. Sony chose not to confuse the fans with a completely new UI, since many buyers are or were actual owners of the PS4 and spent so much time with its interface. Before we get to talk about the specs, allow me to give a minor spoiler. You pay $500 for something, expect $500 quality. I've read lots of discussions on different platforms, Facebook, Reddit, forums and so on. You are virtually unable to follow these discussions without some very expressive individuals popping into the thread and hitting us with the haha PS5 runs games at 4K 60 FPS with ray tracing. Take that, RTX 3080, yada blah blah blah. This left me wondering, how the hell can one think that a console with half the price of a high-end graphics card could by any means offer the full performance of that GPU? Sorry guys, I hate to break it to you, but the PS5 is a console, a cheap one. After all, admit it, you can't expect huge performance from something way cheaper than the Ultimate Beast PC, which can grant you hardcore graphics in any game. And that's not necessarily awful. It's actually pretty fine, because for $500 you can barely afford an Intel Core i3 with GTX 1650 system. In the best case scenario, be warned. Sony's PS5 runs Spider-Man Miles Morales at 30 FPS with 4K and ray tracing enabled. You may want to deactivate ray tracing and lower the resolution to get that smooth 60 FPS gameplay. But more on this later. Now I'd like to address a very controversial topic, and that's the storage. Sony has come up with a special 825 gigs SSD for PS5. There's an obvious difference from 825 gigs to 1 terabyte. Take that, add the actual 670 gig free storage, or what's left of those 825 gigs on the SSD, and things are not looking good anymore. There's a workaround, to be honest. The console has an M2 slot for storage extension, but I doubt it is compatible with all SSDs. Worst case scenario, you could be forced to use whatever the Japanese manufacturer signed a deal for. But you can use an USB-based external storage for the PS4 games. In this way, you can install The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima on an external HDD connected via USB, and the PS5 will do the rest. In addition, the cooling system is very interesting, because Sony came up with a custom method consisting of a giant fan and an even bigger radiator. Combine these and you get a PS5 running very quietly. Under no circumstances has the console ever started to throttle or overheat, although we pushed it for hours. Here's another ace in the sleeve, a leverage the previous generation lacks. On the other hand, there's also a downside, the size of the console. Yep, PS5 is really big. But now let's get back to gaming. Another spoiler warning: the PS5 is a great way to enjoy PS4 games. Back then, console launches used to be accompanied by equally grand video games launches. This new generation doesn't really deliver the same experience. So far, the most important launching title is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Allow me to dig into this game for a bit. Miles Morales is the hero of the story. One of Peter Parker's friends, Miles is granted the iconic spider suit and proceeds to venture into the city's concrete jungle. Your job is to keep the streets in order without help from the guy that used to be the hero back then. Well, the story is not really one of the game's best features, and I chose to take the game more like the act of Sony showing off. And it shows. The game pushes the PS5 kind of hard with ray tracing enabled. In addition, Spider-Man Miles Morales makes use of the DualSense controller's capabilities, which in turn offer a much better vibration function. It feels so much better compared to the older controllers. As of performance, we are presented with two game modes: Fidelity and Performance. Personally, I went with the Fidelity mode in order to enjoy the beautiful graphics, even though performance helps the game run at 60 FPS. In terms of graphics, the difference between these two is huge, and I consider Fidelity the best way to make the most out of this game. Apart from that, what else can you play on the PS5? Demon's Souls and Astro's Playroom. Either that, or you can try some multi-platform or some older games that received the next-gen upgrade, Days Gone and Watch Dogs Legion. And, from today, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Or you can use backwards compatibility and enjoy most of your PS4 game library. We tested this as well: FIFA 21, UFC 4, Mortal Kombat 11 and Ghost of Tsushima. Coming from a PS4 Slim to PS5 was a huge deal, but I was shocked when I found out I was in fact running the game's PS4 Pro version. It looks like the PS4 games will not run any better on the new console without a special upgrade. Backwards compatible performances are decent, but they fail to make me feel like actually playing on a high-end console which was launched 7 years after its predecessor. For me, the best thing the PS5 brings along is the new controller. The DualSense replaces the old DualShock, retaining its best elements. The shape is pretty much the same, albeit bigger, offering you a more comfy experience. The button placement is still symmetric. We have the same touchpad with no particular change. I never went crazy over it, and I find the touchpad on a controller a bit useless, but others might like it. How about the new stuff? Well, the DualSense battery underwent an improvement. Double the juice, 1500 mAh. In the past, DualShock 4 used to drive me nuts because the battery would die very soon, just when I needed it the most. The new controller aims to get rid of this. It's much easier now to charge its battery even once a week, instead of charging it after 2 days. Of course, this depends on how much you use it. The next thing on the list is the new vibration system. It's more natural, so the games are much more immersive and the feeling is on a whole new level. And Spider-Man Miles Morales proves this. Right in the intro, the subway scene was so immersive I felt like I was indeed riding the train myself, thanks to the control's vibration. The buttons were subjected to some other slight changes, both in their numbers and their functions. Firstly, the old familiar round PlayStation button is gone, replaced by a different shaped one. It virtually has the same function, but I don't dig this new shape and placement. They placed it too high and now I can't easily reach it with my thumb anymore. Instead, I keep accidentally touching that stupid switch designed for microphone muting, which is placed right beneath the PlayStation button. Furthermore, be careful when playing backwards compatible games. It looks like these were designed to be used with the console's original controller, so you might want to keep your DualShock at hand. You may never know when nostalgia hits you and you feel the need to play Uncharted 4. It would be a shame if you didn't have the old controller around. So far, I failed at linking the DualShock to the new console, but I reckon you may find a workaround. Overall, the PS5 has both some cool and less cool stuff to offer. I'd rather call it next-gen only if next-gen PCs didn't exist. This is not at all stated with the intention of hurting the feelings of console enthusiasts. It's really worth mentioning how they don't have to deal with a lot of the issues PC gamers encounter. But I can't turn a blind eye whenever I hear next-gen this, next-gen that. What the hell makes the PS5 so next-gen? A new controller? A new SSD and 4K 30 FPS gaming? Wake up guys, we've been playing like this on PC for almost 5 years. Yes, I know, the new PS5 SSD packs some serious muscle, but come on, let's not get high on false hope. It's still a $500 console, but for a $500 one, it's hella good. Since many of you might already own a 4K TV, you would like to play on, not caring about those fancy graphics and over-the-top frame rates, I'd suggest you get a PS5. Get some games too, even though they are not that cheap. Once you completed them, go for a trade with your friends. That's the cool stuff about a gaming console. Let me ask you now, how do you find the PS5? Is it worth the money? Make sure you let me know in the comments below. And since you are leaving a comment, why not subscribe to this channel? It really helps us keep going. Thanks a lot.